Long ago, before man had ever walked this earth, there were these monsters. These monsters were beyond our comprehension. They know what we don't know. That was fucking stupid. These monsters sleep in sorts, and humanity is just waiting for their time to return. Because when they wake up, these eldritch horrors will come from the deep to destroy everything we know. This is Dagon.
Hey there, welcome back to Odd Jobs. Here we are with the first time to Dagon. It's a Lovecraftian Eldritch horror game, visual novel game that I found on Steam for free. But something I noticed that it also supports VR, so it can't be that much of a visual novel if there's VR included. But yeah, I saw this game on Steam and it looked very interesting. And Kano Bridge of Spirits, although it had amazing cutscenes and everything like that, this story was really hard to get into. But yeah, let's start. Dagon is a faithful, interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here. Movement is limited to progressing through location along the plot. Okay.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Jesus. During the game, you encounter interactive elements. Some of them you'll allow to continue your journey. Others will reveal an interesting fact about the original short story, historical background of the author. Some of the trivia hidden in order to find out these secrets. Focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. One thing else I would say about this is that since we know it's Lovecraft, anything that happens at the beginning of the game probably holds no merit by the end of it. Because that's just how Lovecraft's writings. It's not that they were inconsistent. It's like these beings are like capable of like warping reality, so nothing's as it seems. They can warp reality, just simply mess with your mind. And yeah, which button on the controller is which button? I don't know. What'd I do? What'd I do? Oh. Oh wow, that's actually interesting. For a visual novel? What's that? Oh, it becomes... Oh, Lovecraft's letters. The letters to my case were... As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily, as rapidly, so I utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is with me, largely replacing the conversation as my condition of nervous prostration becomes more and more acute. Oh, I forgot the start timer. What was I? I cannot bear to talk too much now, and am becoming as silent as the spectator himself. My location extends itself on paper. H.P. Lovecraft to Reinhard Kleiner, December 23rd, 1917. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned... Oh, why is this mouse in the middle of the screen? Penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and friends, of which were 10% survive to this day. But his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written 250-line pastoral or 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Selected letter 1929 to 1931, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft often skip his meals or afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books and selected letters have been found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. Cool. Go and discover trivia immediately, or go back to the main menu, turn off displaying trivia. You find the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed anytime. Alright. Huh.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Oh, okay, well, suicide
Do
already?
not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Huh. Interesting.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Alright. So I'm just looking for the oh! What's that? Lovecraft and the Great War. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the war, I resolved to attempt enlistment, despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose the regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me until the bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. But even if he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has always started to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which are unfit for me for the army. I am Providence. The Life and Times of H.P. Lovecraft. S.T. Joshi. Now that's significant from what I've heard of Lovecraft. I heard Lovecraft was a bit of a nihilist. This is completely different from what I know. And again, I never did too much research on Lovecraft himself. It's more of his writings I've looked at.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were...
Oh, I skipped by accident. So R1 is a skip button. Oh, trivia. The HUNS. The HUNS were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for the Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II I got something in my throat. Gave a speech to his troops on the 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. This mouse keeps resetting in the middle of the screen. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, Huns under their king Italia Attila, I said that wrong first. King Attila made the name for themselves years ago. I lost whoever falls into your hands. Made the name for themselves. One that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. Made the name German affirmed that such a way in China, no Chinese will ever dare look at cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws. And customs of war adopted during the first Hague Convention of 1899. Well, that's a lot of things I didn't know. That's interesting.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Let's go and look to see if there's anything else. Well, I don't see anything else, so this is it.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Whoa, that's a nice sight.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
I gotta get a VR. This game would be really cool in VR. Just me going like that and all that. This game really is fascinating. Alright. Well, we had no choice but to look at the moon.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Huh. There's our little drink bag, I guess?
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Ah, squids.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
This game, okay, like I said, Kano Bridge of Spirits, before we continue further, I just want to talk about, I'm going to pause the timer so don't waste any time. But one of the things I found kind of boring about Kano Bridge of Spirits was that the story was not very, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't as interesting as other games I've played. I was making a joke with my father yesterday, but good games are ruining me because the good games have such good story, game mechanics and all that. And Kano has an interesting story, but the game mechanic is very basic, and yeah, there's the whole rod thing, but even then, there's it's not that different from any other game, in my opinion. But games like Metal Gear Rising, amazing story, amazing gameplay and all that. And then go over to a game like Borderlands or something, and it's really hard to get into a story when this is not good. And this game so far is Lovecraft, of course, so of course it's interesting. Lovecraft had some of the best writing we know. But yeah, I'm going to resume the time. Let's continue.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
That's an intermission. Because I stopped right at 10 minutes, and that's the 10-minute marker.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I wouldn't be surprised.
for there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
I really should walk
I should
around.
not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Holy crap.
There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black
What
sky.
is that?
Yet the very completeness of the
another
stillness and the
squid?
homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Bro. This is a very good visual novel. Usually I hate visual novels, but this is such a... If I had a VR headset, this would be so... Oh, that's not nasty.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Go on.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Now explain why these, that's an octopus over there. Why these, so these sea creatures are well, even that doesn't make sense why they're up in the air. What's that giant thing over there?
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath.
Oh crap, hit the skip button again. My apologies. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise. The surging ocean strained my ears as I might.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Fish. Oh.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Alright.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
I find it really hard to say anything right
That
now.
night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible
Oh,
rescue.
I didn't see that first. Bags. You know more trivia?
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things
What's
to
this?
mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
It's a very immersive game. You go that way. It's very linear. I think it's supposed to be a story you just go through yourself.
All day I
that
forged
a-
steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock
The
which
hell is
rose
that?
higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Some sort of seal. I thought it was a crustacean at first, but I can't even tell what that's supposed to be. It is very interesting so far, though. And there's a whale. Looks like a giant crab under the sand.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
What in the hell is that? It's like a giant worm. Oh Well, nowhere else to go but forward. Oh, there we go. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and fictional underwater city of Relay was convinced that the life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness, and at hellish crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures such as angelfish and fangtooth or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. I would agree. The hell's that supposed to be, though?
By the fourth evening,
What was that?
I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Look in the corner. If I look at it, it disappears, but if I look away from it, it appears again.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain,
The voice actor did a very good job here.
I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
That is true.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
I could have sworn I saw something glowing though earlier.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon,
Alright.
whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
That's kind of
I
haunting,
felt
isn't it?
myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Ooh. It's just like a mouth.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a
slime stuff?
descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
This is very like a haunting. What is down here?
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath,
I can't see shit, man.
gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
It's gonna be put on the screen what a lot of these words mean, because I don't know what Stygian means off the top of my head. I believe it means it has something to do with dark, with like a pitch, like it's another way to say pitch black. Oh crap, the timer's up. Get off my screen. Alright, but thank you all for watching today's episode of Odd Jobs. If you guys want me to continue this is let me know. If not, I'm going to just play this on my own time. But yeah, I'll give you guys a couple of days before that happens. Well, my allergies are bad. But yeah, everything all watching today's everything all watching today's episode of Odd Jobs. If you guys are watching, hit the like button, so stay up to date for uploads, subscribe to the bell icon. Yeah. Have a good day.